So, dear friends, we are discussing regarding the sixth edition of Organ of Medicine, and last lecture we have finished up to the aphorism number 92. 91 and 92 both we have discussed in detail. We have learned specifically the conjoined malady and how to tackle the conjoined malady. The conjoined malady means the patient comes with the symptoms of the original disease along with whatever the medicines he has consumed and the new symptoms which are developed because after taking the medication. So Hahnemann explains that this might be considered conjoined malady. It is necessary to take the original functional symptoms of the patient, and if you are able to treat them, and if you are able to get them, and if you are able to treat them, you can get a very perfect remedy. But if you don't get those symptoms, then what to do? And then he explains, if it is a case where there is an emergency, at that time you have to take into consideration the whole totality, the original symptoms plus whatever new presenting symptoms are there, form a conjoined malady and conjoined totality of the symptoms, and find it out whatever the remedy of the patient is there and prescribe that remedy. This is another practical solution which he has mentioned in aphorism number 92, and both aspects are very much needed. Sometimes you have to, he has explained one more thing, that when you are treating such types of conjoined malady, sometimes you can wait, give the placebo to the patient, just find it out, the original symptoms returning back, and on the basis of that, you can prescribe a remedy. So this is what we have discussed in last lecture. Let us start with the next aphorism, having again a very important thing. So we'll start with the aphorism number 93. If the disease has been brought on a short time, or in a case of chronic affection, a considerable time previously by some obvious cause, then the patient or his friends, when questioned privately, will mention it either spontaneously or when carefully interrogated. See, this is just right over there on side, that private questions should be asked privately. This is very important thing, because certain things patient never details in front of everyone. Some things are very specifically related to the that person as his private things, and those things he should not like to make it social. So many times patient never tells those symptoms. It happens many times. Patient who has the habit of taking the alcohol, and he doesn't want to disclose it in front of others or in front of family members. And that's why it is not possible to get that history from the patient. So it is always better in such types of cases that you ask it privately to the patient, ask the other relatives to sit outside, and just ask them in a private manner that whether they are suffering or whether they are having any habits such as alcohol, tobacco, smoking. Sometimes some people who are having, those who are youngsters or basically after marriage, they have the masturbation tendencies or any other sexual problem, because patient always remains in a timid phase, the bashful phase, and he doesn't want to interrogate with you regarding all those things. He wants to hide those things. And if you feel that here something is hidden and patient is not telling you the truth, the such questions are very much needed. You have to ask them privately. And you can get many times many details which were not there mentioned during earlier case taking when others are sitting along with the patient. Privacy is one of the important entity which you have to maintain in your practice. If you have taken any case inside, first ask the patient's relatives to sit outside so that you can interrogate with patients very clearly. Sometimes it happens that patient's relatives are obstinate, they want to sit along with the patient. First, talk them politely. At a certain time, when case taking is half finished or when you feel that he is not telling you the truth, then ask them, request them that they should sit outside so that I can ask very few important things. These are very much necessary. Second important thing, your consultation, whenever you are doing the consulting, your room should be completely closed so that others will not get what, others will not listen what the patient is telling. This, his or her privacy is very important in consultation. And that's why Hahnemann also explains over there that in such types of cases, either patient details when you ask certain questions spontaneously, or you have to ask certain carefully interrogated, that you have to ask the questions in a careful manner to the patient so that you get certain things. But which are those things? Again, he has narrated many examples. There is a footnote to this paragraph, and he gives examples what is needed when you have to ask the questions privately, what is needed. So footnote number 86 or 96. Any causes of disgraceful character, disgraceful म्हणजे लाजिरवाणं. Any causes of disgraceful character which the patient or his friends do not like to confess. Confess म्हणजे कबूल करणे. एखादी गोष्ट गुन्हा कबूल करणं, एखादी गोष्ट कबूल करणं. At least not voluntarily, the physician must endeavor. Endeavor means to help, प्रयत्न करणे. Endeavor चा अर्थ प्रयत्न करणे. The physician must endeavor to elicit by skillfully framing his question or private information. To these belongs poisoning or attempts of suicide, onanism, indulgence in the ordinary or unnatural debauchery, sexual excess in wine, cordials. Cordials means taking the irritants or उत्तेजक घेणं आपण ज्याला म्हणतो. पंचचा अर्थ पण उत्तेजक आहे. And other ardent beverages which are stimulant, or coffee, overindulgence in eating generally, or in some particular food of a hurtful character, infection with the venereal disease, or each, unfortunate love, jealousy, domestic infelicity, worry, grief on account of some family misfortune, ill usage, balked, revenge. Balk means उधळून लावणे, उडवणे. Balk revenge, injured pride, embarrassment of pecuniary nature. Pecuniary means related with the money. पैशांसंबंधित गोंधळ. Superstitious fear, hunger, or an imperfection in the private parts, a rupture, or prolapses, and so forth. See, he has given all varieties of such questions where patient can sometimes get embarrassed. He doesn't want to show or tell you all those things because some other peoples are sitting over there, his relatives are there, his friends are there. And when they are there, he doesn't want to disclose all those things. And sometimes these are very essential for your case taking. If the patient has habit of smoking, he cannot tell you he's smoking in front of his wife or his parent. And if you don't ask it, and if patient goes on taking those things or consuming those things, what happens? Generally, when patient goes on consuming those things, your remedy will not going to work. It is necessary to tell him that he should stop all those habits, and before that you must get that history that patient is consuming the tobacco or smoking or alcohol, etc. So such questions, when you have to ask, you should ask in privacy. Take the patient into confidence. Tell him this will not be disclosed to anyone, and ask him, yes, what is the reality? Do you have habits of such a thing? Do you have habit of tobacco? Do you have habit of taking the or smoking or taking the alcohol or drugs, etc. These are very essential things in your case taking. Then he gives examples that whether the patient had attempted the poisoning or suicide. No one will going to tell you that he has attempted the suicide. This is very important. And that's why such if you feel patient is depressed, disturbed, then such questions are necessary. Onanism means a sexual excess, masturbation tendency. No one will going to tell it directly to yours. Indulgence in ordinary and unnatural debauchery. Debauchery म्हणजे व्याभिचार. Doing the things which are not common, which have a social norms, which one should avoid. And they are doing it. And they don't want to explain it to you, or they want to never disclose it to anyone. And that's why such a thing, excess in wine, cordials, punch, and other ardent beverage, coffees, etc. Then few more things which he has mentioned over there are very important. The overindulgence in eating generally. There are people I have seen, they have habit of eating too much. This habit is there with some people. They takes more and more food, and they feel ashamed how to tell, but they sometimes if you ask them properly, then they can tell you all those things. They tells you, doctor, what happened, I don't know, that I feel hungry even after 1 hour after eating. I feel too much hungry and I eat that much. I couldn't stop my habit. Or in some particular food of hurtful character. So such a thing that if patients who are having the habits of eating very much spicy and they want it daily, hotel food, they want it daily, such thing they will not going to tell you unless and until you ask them properly. Then another important thing which he has mentioned, that infection with venereal disease. Yes, this is very important because miasm is expressed on the basis of that, or you can decide the miasm on the basis of that. And for that purpose, it is too much necessary to ask all those details. So such questions should be asked privately. Then he gives one more example, that each in unfortunate love. Yes, this is again a sensitive issue. People never explains you all those things properly. And these are essential many a time. Then jealousy, domestic infelicity. So these are again few things which are necessary to ask and which are very much needed from the patient point of view, which sometimes gives hints to understand the human life, how is the nature of the person. Then he explains the jealousy, domestic infelicity, worry, grief on account of some family misfortune. Yes, patient never wants to explain the family misfortunes or family problems. Those are also important. Then he explains the ill usage and barked revenge, injured pride. Some injured pride, something has happened, and because of it, there is a disturbance. He is depressed, and he doesn't want to explain it to in front of you. Such things sometimes create the problem. So that is also one important thing. Embarrassment of pecuniary nature. Pecuniary means related with money. Embarrassment. So something, there is a financial loss, and because of which the person is disturbed. That might be one of the reasons. So that is also one important thing which he mentioned. Then certain superstitious fears are there. Patient is having very clear-cut thing that he used to get the problems only during the new moon or full moon. But he doesn't want to show it to you because he feels this is superstitious, and he feels that if I will going to tell him or explain it, it will create a problem. Or if the doctor will laugh at me. So he will not going to tell. All those things matters a lot. And these are very essential from your point of view. Then last point which he explains over there is a very, very important part. And that is what is called as an imperfection in the private part. Yes. These are very essential things. Many a times the patient, they are very much ashamed. They never want to disclose it, or they never understands how to explain it to the physician. And this is common problem. So it is very, very much necessary. Even when we have learned the fifth aphorism, he has explained the how to investigate fundamental cause. And last part which he has asked is to ask regarding the sexual function, because it is one of the important things. When we learn, we used to remain in India and Indian culture, these things are not openly discussed. And that's why people feel little bit bashful. They feel ashamed to how to tell all those things. It is very much necessary to ask regarding those things. There was one patient who came to me for it's a very long case, long back in 1995 or 94. She was in fact, she was a doctor only. She was learning in the internship. She was a BMS student, and she came to me, and she was so much depressed during internship period. She came to me, and she was taking, in fact, allopathic treatment, antidepressant for 6 months. When I have interrogated with her, nothing was coming out. At the last, she asked, "Doctor, may I ask you one question?" I said, "Why not?" And then she disclosed, "Do you know the real cause of my depression? My breasts are so shriveled and they are not developed. And now everyone is thinking about my marriage. I am I'm totally embarrassed and I'm depressed because of that. And because of which I cannot tell it to my parents. I cannot share with anyone, because my mother, she has lost the mother earlier, and she cannot share that with anyone, with her father. And she was just taking treatment for the depression. And depression is rather result of this embarrassed feeling in her, and which was because of imperfection in her private parts. When she has narrated, and thereafter she feels relaxed. Today I have told this to someone, and then I have treated her, and she recovered within span of 6 months, and she recovered so nicely. So these are very important things which are necessary. Many times patients of uterine prolapse comes to you. And uterine prolapse is one of the important things which they never feels to tell you very easily. Being if you are a male person, of male homeopath, then these things they never disclose very easily. And such a thing, we have a remedy in our Mater Medica. We can use it, and many times we can treat them with the help of homeopathic remedy. But certain things remains disclosed. So imperfection of the in the private parts, rupture, sometimes rupture over there in the private parts is sometimes this can happen, and how to disclose it, it remains hidden, the prolapses and so forth. So such a matter makes or gives you details and detailed understanding about the patient if you ask such types of questions privately to the patient. So this aphorism, 93 aphorism, he explains, and with the help of footnote and with the help of example, he tried to explain how to go ahead with those types of questions and what type of questions are necessary to understand. And this is very, very essential part of the case taking. And it is a sensitive part. One must develop and tackle these things very nicely. So case taking is a very important entity which one has to learn. You cannot get it on day one. It's a long process. After 31 years of practice, still I feel that I have to develop those skills. Many times I cannot get the things from the patient. This happens because you have ample patients, and you have ample varieties of patients. Every time you can learn something new from the patient. You can learn from something from another physicians, and those things which you have to develop. But Hahnemannian case taking, which he has explained over there regarding the chronic case taking, is literally a wonderful entity. So this is, I think we'll stop with this aphorism. Next aphorism we'll discuss in tomorrow's session, because we have to learn in such a manner. So that's all for today's session. Any questions are there, we'll discuss. If questions are not there, we can stop. Any queries? No queries, as usual. So we'll meet tomorrow with the next aphorism. Today we'll have a break over here and we'll meet tomorrow. Thank you being there. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks, Ali, and everyone who are there in the session. Thank you.